Okay, my friends, extreme shocker du jour today. They're talking about a giant object that smashed into Earth, and scientists finally have figured out what it is. Well, let's talk about that, because Velikovsky figured out what it was in 1950. Okay, my friends, get ready for this. This is about Venus and Mars and Earth, and Velikovsky's account of what happened 3,500 years ago. Now, there's an article this morning in the news updates, scientific news updates, that talks about a giant impact upon Earth long ago. Let's see what they have to say. Velikovsky, I believe, had it exactly correct, because every culture on Earth had the same story, and this was the Great Flood. Let's see what they had to say long ago. Okay, this is in 1950. Immanuel Velikovsky published a book called Worlds in Collision. It postulates that around the 15th century BC, that's only 3,500 years ago, the planet Venus was ejected from Jupiter. It was born from Jupiter as a comet-like object passed near to Earth. Actual collision is not mentioned, although I believe we did have an actual collision. Now, every culture on Earth had the same story, and this is what caused the Great Flood. Let me show you where these impacts actually occurred. Okay, this is Jupiter, and this is the Great Red Spot, and that's the size of Venus, which was born from the feared god Jupiter. This is what makes the academics insane. There was gods here, and this is the god that was in control, and it probably is still in control now. Gods do not die. Okay, here's the story. The feared god Jupiter was known to all the people that lived that he was the god in charge, and he had to destroy the giants. So what he did was eject Venus from the Great Red Spot, which is actually literally a female body part. I will show you in a moment. It's going to be graphic, so get ready. And that body, which is Venus, came and hit Earth, and I believe it did hit Earth. Velikovsky said it was a close, but he didn't say it actually hit. I say it did. He didn't have the information I have. I have proven all of his claims. This is actually what it would look like. The Great Red Spot is just the right size to eject a planet the size of Venus, and that's exactly what did happen. All right, don't forget now, this was 1950. Velikovsky wrote the accounts that the ancients wrote about this. They said that the feared god Jupiter gave literal birth to Venus, which was a fiery comet, and so forth. Now, where would it give birth from? Well, we saw that the red spot is about the right size. Is it actually something that would give birth, like a vagina? I say yes, it is. This is a literal vagina, and this was from a close flyby of Jupiter, and they took this picture. This right here is absolute certainty that this is what it looks like, which is a vagina. It has all the similarities of a vagina. There's no question it looks like a vagina. Venus fits exactly into that space. And this right here, my friends, is it's a lock-in of the body parts. They have this little ball and that little strap, and Venus is being twisted this way. I mean, the red spot is being twisted a little bit this way because of the way it's being impacted. All right, because it's being scrubbed. You see what's happening? This is hitting here, and this is where the densest part is. So the densest part is pushing the red spot this way. It's not spinning. It's just being barely pushed. And what's that red spot is a vagina. Now get ready, this is going to be extremely graphic, but it's going to prove what I'm saying. All right, so here we have the red spot. We have exactly the right size of the item coming out of there, which was Venus. We have the push, which spins it. It's not a spinning storm, which they call it. It was the birth. And that right there, that's the key. The rest is just obvious. I mean, there's no question about it. Although there is that push. It's being pushed this way, scrubbed. All of the body details are here, including the hairline. Including every single bit. All the majora, minora, everything. And that tab, that's the killer right there. And here it is. Oops, here it is. Oh boy. All right, I'm not going to get crazy. I've done this so many times. This is the heavy, dense cloud coming around this mound. This is a mound. It's not a swirling storm. It's a mound. And it has to push through that atmosphere, which creates this swirling effect beyond it. Now, what is this happening here? That is the size of Venus. So here it is, Venus being ejected from the feared god Jupiter. Exactly what they said 3,500 years ago. And this is from a close flyby of Jupiter where they took this exact picture. And this is not CGI or anything like this. This is not some artist rendition. This is actually the picture. And this right here is the clincher. That is what holds the vagina in place. Normally that would be straight up and down, but in this case it's being swirled this way. So the vagina is trying to be twisted. It won't go because this is holding it in place. And can we see that in a normal vagina? Yes, we can. However, it's extremely graphic, so I am going to show you what they look like. And that tab is exactly where it should be, and it's being pushed this way. That's the reason it's going off to that direction. I've shown this dozens and dozens of times. Even the hairline is here. The vaginal canal, every single part of the vagina is here because it is a vagina, and out came Venus. Now, like I said, this is extremely graphic. So if you don't want to see it, don't see it. This is what's called a Venus mons. It's a mound. As that goes around Venus, it has to push the atmosphere away, and it swirls around. This is that body part I was talking about right there. That strap and that latch. That holds the vagina in position. It can move around a little bit here and there, but it's not going to swirl around in circles. This is the key to the whole thing right there. And this is, the rest is just quite obvious. But with that being there, it leaves no doubt whatsoever that that is a vagina that is up here on Jupiter. And there is that part. Now, if you're not anatomical at all, I can't understand how you could miss this, but some people just refuse to believe reality. They just refuse. All right, so here's the deal. Jupiter is Zeus. It's the same guy. And Zeus and Jupiter decided they had to wipe the giants off the face of Earth, and they had to destroy Mars because they were both problems. So Venus was created by Jupiter to go down and hit Earth, which it did. And then it went around from there, came back and whacked Earth again a little bit, it appears. And then it hit Mars dead on and wiped Mars completely out. Mars is a dead planet. It's called the red planet because it's just totally wiped out. There is no atmosphere, there's no magnetic field. It's totally destroyed, and that is what destroyed it, was Venus. All right, so here's Venus. These are the impact sites. I think that was one there, and I believe there's one there. And Venus spins backwards, which gives it an extreme magnetic attraction. And it sucked the magnetic fields out of Mars completely, totally wiped it out. And from Earth, pretty damn close. All right, and these are, I believe, the impact sites. These are welding arcs. No different than if you took a arc welder and you went and you didn't do it right, and you had all these welding scars. These are scars from welding, and that's just basically what it is. Those are magnetic electric discharges. All right, believe it or not, they call this tectonic activity on Venus. They're trying to explain this. They can't explain it. The only explanation is the one I just gave, is an impact with another body, and because of Venus having an extreme magnetic interaction, this is what happened. They claim it was tectonics. The plates are slurching. Rocky worlds can also reshape themselves. Internal forces push and pull their crustal materials, called tectonics. And they're talking about extensional forces stretch and pull the crust. And that's what they're relating this to, is some kind of tectonics. I say that was the impact between Mars and Earth. Those two. And now here's what happened to Mars. Look at that. This is wider than the United States. And I believe this was the impact here, and it went right across and ripped all this down to way down deep and tore it to shreds across Mars. And at the same time, the creatures that were here, that were giants, just like they were on Earth, all got flung into space and created everywhere around this solar system. All of that stuff went out to create meteors, meteorites, comets, all of that stuff. All right, this was the impact site on Earth, I believe. Now, Velikovsky says that it was close to Earth. He didn't say it was an impact, but he didn't know. He didn't have Google Earth. He couldn't see the vagina. He couldn't see all that stuff. I can, and I can see down in here. These are literally guts. The Earth is a creature, is body parts, and these are guts. This didn't happen by accident. It's not just one of those things. You get down here deep enough, you can find all the body parts. And these are blood flowing here and there. This is not silly. I know it sounds crazy, but trust me, they had these things recorded in history. Velikovsky wrote about them. He had no idea that they would be able to prove these things in time. When I knew everything he said was proven, I proved it with the mud fossils. When I did that, I had to write a book, and I wrote Minds in Collision, because when I presented the evidence, they couldn't accept it, and they still can't accept it. Let's talk about Bennu. Bennu is a asteroid that they saw out there, and they said, let's go out there and pick up a piece of that asteroid, bring it back to Earth, and we'll figure out what it is. They brought it back to Earth. They know what it is, and they cannot accept it. It is a body part. All right, this is an asteroid. Bennu contains the seeds of life. It contains actually body parts. Here's what they came back with. This is what muscle sarcomeres look like. All right, they're all this connective tissue, and then the red gooey stuff, and they pull together like this. They come in little blocks, and then they have membranes on the top and the bottom. All right, this is what heart muscle looks like, and that's the membranes. These are the blocks, the sarcomeres. This is a heart attack victim. They should look like this from a heart. Guess where this was from? This is from Bennu. This is what they came back with. That right there, my friends, are muscle sarcomeres. They have all the same organic chemistry, the amino acids, everything. And this is the membrane on the upper and lower, and the sarcomeres are in the middle. And this, if you look, these are bundles of cords. That is what wraps around the heart to make the heart beat. They came back with this, and I was very surprised. I knew they'd come back with blood, but when they went deep down inside, they went very deep. And nobody realized they were going to go that deep. They've picked a spot that didn't have a lot of boulders. And this spot was kind of empty, sort of powdery. When they hit it, they splashed it with nitrogen gases to blow everything away so they could get, and they didn't realize they went way down. That's 2, 4, 6, 8 meters. They went down and they hit muscle, grabbed a chunk of that muscle and came back with it. And now they're in a quandary because they don't know what to do. Here's the muscle, here's muscle, here's muscle. It's all the same. There is no difference. And on Mars, it has the same thing. They call this over millions of years, these things layered and layered and layered. That is muscle. These are sarcomeres. And that is the red, bloody stuff that runs out and just dried up over the course of time on Mars. Mars is wiped out. This is what happened. It hit Earth. It came back around, and again, I guess it had some interaction with Earth, and then it hit Mars dead on, killed it. And that was because the feared god Jupiter says, we got to wipe these big, gigantic giants out of here. And you can see the size of these things. They were not small. And all of these things went into space. Let me show you some of the things in space. There's no denying it. See, this is back in 2015. This is from Comet 67P. That right there is from an artery. These little things are from the moisture that's in between tendons. And it's boiling off. It's just burning, boiling, it's being cooked. And this, as it came close enough to the sun, the same thing is happening to 3I Atlas right now. And also 3I Atlas, they say it's being pushed from within. Well, that's what this is. It's being boiled down in here and it's pushing out there. Pushing there means it pushes this way. It's equal and opposite. And that's what's happening to this 3I Atlas. And they can't understand it. We just lost. We have no idea what's going on. Well, I can tell you, it's another body part. As far as I'm concerned, there's nothing but body parts. Bennu, no question whatsoever. We got it here in our hands. There's no question whatsoever. You know what it was? This is what 67P is a hip joint. It's broken right here, and the blood running up into the muscle is where all that big blast of gases came out. And the little gases came out right in between these tendon little filaments. There has to be moisture in there so that they can do this. And this had blood, and that's where the big blast came out. It's a hip joint. So there is the artery where the blood is boiling out, and these are where the tendons are, and they're just gassing off. Everywhere it's pointing is where something was pointing in that direction. This hole is down here pointing out that way. I'll show it to you. It's gigantic. 500 feet across is the size of the artery on this. This is not small. See that? This is the artery. 40 meters is this wide, and there's about 4 of them in here. So I'm looking at about 500 feet. That's an artery. All right, I showed you, I don't know if I showed you this or not yet, but this is the hip joint. And it broke right here, so it would have been broken right here. And we have the ball and the rest up here. There it is. And it's smoking off exactly what is biology cooking on a gas grill. This is Raleigh, North Carolina. That's how big 67P is. Look at the size of it. Raleigh, North Carolina, downtown. This is another body part out there. The giants were absolutely stunningly large. That is a tube coming out. That is a tube coming out. These are the different oxidation color states of blood: black, yellow, and red. These are the valves in the heart. When the top pops off, and they do, it just automatically pops off because of the iron banding. You end up looking down into the valves, and that's what you're seeing right there. And this is psyche again. These are the valves, the same as the valves here. And the same as the valves in our heart. This stuff pops off. Because it's just really literally glued on there. It pops right off. There's a black and a red. The black is the vein blood. It shows blue here, but it really turns black when it's exposed and out in the oxygen and so forth, in the atmosphere. And it just turns black and red, and they pop apart. And this is what you have, is a heart. And that's what psyche is, and so is Bennu. And they got Bennu, brought it back, and it's muscle. And this is Bennu, the one they actually went to. And actually, they're heading off to psyche right now. So the pictures I'm showing you are pictures. They're not artist rendition. This big circle here is a valve. They're huge. And this also is a valve. And I believe this is a valve down here. When they hit here, they found a spot that had no big boulders on it, and then when they pushed all that stuff away, whoosh, they went right down in, grabbed the muscle, came back with it. You see that right there? That's a meteorite that came through space, hit Earth, and inside of it is blood. That's the black, which is the vein blood, and that's the red, which is the artery. You should be able to see that red is right there. That red should not be inside of an iron meteorite. Now they call them iron meteorites. They're not necessarily only iron. They're all metals because that's what's in your blood. This one right here is a little tiny meteorite, and I know what it is. It's a lung. And it is magnetic, or it attracts magnets because of the iron content. I've done catalase tests on this, and it has plenty of catalase in there. And this came through space and is magnetic. Now I have other meteorites here that are also biological, and there's no question about it. It's just that I cannot get academia to pay attention to this. There's no reason whatsoever they should dismiss this. I have the evidence that is overwhelming. And it changes everything that we have ever heard, even a Mao. That's a finger. That's what's called grip skin. At the tip of your fingers, you have on your whole hands, you have these extra layer of skin, and it's peeled off down to here. There's the tendons that come down right here. And I've shown this over and over and over and over. There's the vein. There's the artery coming up over the top of the knuckle. And they're coming up with all these crazy ideas, but they will not address my evidence. And this is a disgrace in academia.